To replace the engine, the first thing I've got to do is remove the petrol tank. To remove the petrol tank, I've got to first of all drain it. So, with that in mind, I have an electrical pump, I have a plastic pipe that I can put into the fuel cap to draw it down to the pump, with the rubber hose going down into a 5 litre petrol can, green for unleaded. Now I need a battery to hook the pump up to. The pump doesn't have a switch, so unfortunately it's just direct contact. I've got a battery on charge at the moment which I'll use to drive the pump, and then hopefully get the tank fully drained. I have no idea how much fuel is in this petrol tank. Apologies for the shaky hands. I'll try and do this one-handed. Obviously I need to open the fuel cap, but that seems to be not opening very well. I've got one of these plastic tools which hopefully will help me. There we go. There we go, that's how it opens. There doesn't seem to be any sort of separate chamber in there. I think we can go straight down into the tank. I'll if I can. Now I need to hook the negative up to the battery, and then when I touch the positive across, it should drive the pump. The battery has been freshly charged. Didn't take long, so the battery obviously wasn't that low. Nothing happening. It's taken a little bit of fleshing around. I have to keep adjusting this. You can see quite a few air bubbles coming up, which means it's scavenging as much as it can. But we are getting fuel coming through. There's a couple of litres there. It was quite hard getting it to pick up the last of the fuel. I don't think there's actually that much in there. You can hear the noise the pump is making because it's running a little bit dry. We'll try and keep it going and pick up as much fuel as we can. I think we've drained pretty much all we can. You can listen very carefully. You can hear that there is a very slight sloshing there, which suggests there is some fuel left in there. That's all I can do. I haven't seen a tank arrangement like this before. Normally you'd undo a couple of bolts, disconnect the piping, and and then just simply lift the tank away. However, on this model you have to undo these two bolts, and then the tank will pivot on this bracket, will pivot back. You put something to hold it at the front to stop the tank going back forward again, and then you have to disconnect everything, which includes the power to the fuel pump, the sender for the fuel level gauge, fuel return deliveries, breather pipes, and of course the fuel supply and fuel pressure delivery from the fuel pump. Okay, now I can't do this one-handed. I'm going to have to set you back a bit. I want to see if we can show you how this works. As if I know how it works. Do forgive me. That's the screwdriver ready. Supposed to be something down here which should hold the tank. There you go. Let's see if that's fallen back down again. So what you can't see from there, if you can see it, there you go. You can see that the screwdriver goes down through a slot, and there is a wire loop below that holds a screwdriver that the tank can rest against. And then the tank props up at the back on this bracket. That allows enough clearance, I hope, underneath the tank to start disconnecting things. We'll have a look. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is try and remove these two pipes here, which I think are feedback pipes. That one's off quite easily. That one's been a much more of a bugger to try and get off. Might have to get a bit of leverage under it to try and break the seal on it. I've got to disconnect that fuel pipe and the electrical cables. That fuel pipe has a hex drive in the middle. I'm going to have to lift the tank up quite away from where it is at the moment to get that out. At the front end of the tank, that screw holding the wire appears to be a safety strap tied onto the tank. So what I think I shall do is I shall unbolt that from there, maybe hinge the tank up so I can reach the components at the bottom. We'll give that a try. Yeah, Torx T30 with an extension bit, an adapter, an extension arm onto the ratchet. Now this is a really awkward angle to get in it because of the head of the tank. The tank won't go back any further, and that's not sitting squarely into the Torx. So I've got to be very careful here not to break that spline. Well, fortunately that wasn't on too tight. It's come loose pretty easily. Now we can angle the tank up and we can see down to everything that we need to disconnect. The other advantage of having it up at an angle like this is that all the fuel will run to the back, so it won't come out when I disconnect the fuel. To allow me to get in here, and allow me to get on with this. I've actually used a bungee cord, a nice long one, which I've tied or used to on the grab handle. I'll just slide that across the thing, trying to keep the pressure central to try and hold it steady. It's only a single bungee cord, and disaster could occur if this falls down. That pipe at that side has unplugged itself from a pipe just behind here. Don't know if you can see that, but yes, that's unplugged itself. The next thing to do, I think, is undo these electrical connections, then we'll get in and undo that. Right, both of these connectors were easy enough to come off. Both of them had these little arrowhead clips. You just press in to release, obviously going in opposite directions so you don't plug them in the wrong way round. Next is to undo this, excuse me, bolt in the centre, disconnect the fuel line. This is the one that worries me most because we could end up spilling fuel everywhere. I think this is going to be quite tough because this will be on quite tight and the tank isn't very stable where it is, so I'm going to have to be careful not to, well, damage anything. This bungee cord slips, the whole lot will come crashing down. Can't see anything else that needs removed, so hopefully once this banjo bolt comes off, yeah, I thought it was going to be tough. 8mm, by the way. Oh, that is on tough. That is on tough. Oh, I can't move that. It's about the best. It's about the best place to grip it. Cannot move it. I'm so frightened of damaging this tank. I think if I can just get it to turn that first little bit, maybe then it will start to turn properly. But right, okay, I'm gonna have to use different tools. Right, we've got an extended 8mm hex drive, adapter, extension and ratchet. Using a larger 0.5mm drive this time, and hopefully got the ratchet going in the wrong direction. Right, can't get the tool to stay in there. Oh, no, that's chewing up. Okay, I stuck on a shorter unit, and with a bit of brute force it has actually undone. The usual, a mighty click, and then it's undone. We have got petrol seeping from this, but as you can see it is undoing. Slowly, but it's undoing. Now there is a bit of stress on this because of the stress on that line. If I push the tank down a bit, it eases the stress on it a bit. I need to be careful here. Okay, it's released, but as well as holding the tank, I've got to be careful because on this bolt there are two allegedly copper washers that I don't want to lose. That's it. And that's over there. I'll slide that bolt back onto the tank. Not that it's going to act as a blockage, because of course it's a banjo bolt. And the next job to do is remove this through bolt, and the tank will be then free to lift away. I think these are 10mm. 1mm, that'll do nicely, thank you. I've just put the block of wood there against the top yoke so that the tank doesn't roll forward while I'm trying to undo this bolt. The nut, of course, has to be a nylock nut, which means you've got to unthread it all the way. You can't just spin it loose with your fingers. I think Uncle Honda was doing this to make sure that even if the nut wasn't tight, it would still not undo by itself. All very nice, Mr. Honda, but a pain in the arse to take off. Here we go. Once we get out of that nylon ring, the nut comes loose, as any normal nut should. Oh, there's a thing. Now, I expected I'd just be able to push the bolt through just by lifting the weight off it a bit. It would push through. It won't. It's been an absolute terror. Nope, I can't get it to come out. I have to say, what a palaver just to take the tank off. Right, that's it. Now, the tank should now be free to remove. Oh, steady. There, a second. Hopefully that will now lift free. There's still fuel in that, but it's not leaking from anywhere. Now we can get a better view of what's here, and you can see where that screwdriver was designed to go through and prop up the front of the tank. Lots of dirt here to get rid of. That's the filler for the water cooling system. The two connections were just disconnected for the petrol tank and the petrol tanks, the high pressure fuel line. Some damage on the frame rail there. A bit disappointing. The whole thing is damn good clean. Right. I need to make sure this bolt isn't lost. Just one other little point that I've made before that I think is worth making again. I've got myself into the habit of loosely screwing bolts back into the places where they come from, where it's practical. This means that you've found very little chance of losing where bolts come from. You can see I've done it with this tank mounting plate, and I've also done it where the strap tied.